Hi everyone, I hope that you are all well. As you know, I've been away for a while, I've been on holiday, and finally I am back. And I'm here to talk about the books that I've been reading. Well, the first one, should I say, the first book of ours, because I've read two. But yeah, I had an absolutely amazing holiday. I went to Bath with my sister, as you may have seen the videos that we did. We had so much fun making them. And then I spent a week in Stratford and I saw Macbeth and Romeo and Juliet, which at the RSC, which were both absolutely stunning. I had a fabulous time, and I had my books with me as well. So here I'm going to talk about the first book that I read whilst I was away, and that was Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Now, this is the first of a 7-book series of her autobiography, and this one goes from about the age of 7 to about 20. So, and it's a really short book to cover that amount of time. So, yeah, I was quite surprised how short it was and the age range that it covered, because I would have thought it would have been thicker. But I think that just as a testament to what an amazing writer she is, because she gives you so much. She kind of reminds me of Agatha Christie. She gives you so much information with so few words, and I love how the way that she writes her story, it flows so well, and you always have this kind of happiness with a tint of sadness, a tint of darkness in there. Now, if you don't know, Maya Angelou, she is she was a writer, an activist, a playwright. She was, like best friends with Oprah and all this stuff. She worked with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. She did some absolutely extraordinary things in her life. Sadly, she passed away a few years ago now, but we still have her books, her other writings, her plays and such, and of course so much video footage on that online. You find absolutely tons and tons of videos of Maya Angelou here on YouTube if you want to check her out. But yeah, so this covers, as I said, the first 20 years of her life, and it's so cleverly written that she just bangs you straight from the south. She bangs you in the south of America in her childhood when she's about 6 or 7. She doesn't really explain about her very early life until you're really starting to go through. Now, for example, she refers straight off the bat to a woman called Mama. So I assumed that Mama was her mother until a few chapters later, where she talks about her actual mother, and you realise, oh no, Mama is her grandmother who she lives with. She's not anywhere near her parents, nor is her brother Bailey, who she absolutely adores. And every time she refers to Bailey in there, she tells she's like beaming. She has a great love for her brother, even though they had some testing times. They were very close to each other and told each other everything, and yeah, so she just bungs you in, and I had this idea of who Mama was, and then when I realised it was grandmother, it was like, oh my gosh, there's a whole another level of complexity about her family there. Going forward then with meeting Mother, her biological mother, and her father as well, that was so interesting how she referred to them, how you had this kind of sense of unknown and unease. It kind of felt like the opening chapters, you felt so that you were in it, you were very comfortable, you felt like Maya, that you're a part of this world, and then suddenly you're forced to another area of the country and gone, here's your parents, go live with them for a while, and it really takes you aback. I feel so. It felt so personal reading this. I don't necessarily feel as if, like I do with like the Diary of Anne Frank, which I've talked about before, where I feel like Anna's sat right here and she's talking to me. She's looking me in the eye, she's holding my hand, and she's telling me everything that she wants to tell me. I kind of feel like with this, I'm being told what she wants to tell me, but I can feel that there's stuff that's being held back. But then, of course, that's understandable. I mean, every single person who's published an autobiography, I'm sure, keeps a lot of stuff back. That yeah, I kind of felt there was a bit of a distance, as it were, but that's not a bad thing at all. There are a lot of harrowing things that she went through, including being raped at the age of 8 by a very horrible man, her mother's boyfriend at the time. And the way that she talks about that, she gives you a lot of detail, but at the same time she holds stuff back. You can kind of feel her, in a sense, pulling back. At least I felt that when I was reading it. It is harrowing to read those sections, and especially with her telling people and making them believe her, and what that then led to. That the scene at the end of the trial with Mama and the policeman, that was, whoa. that was some heavy stuff. You could feel the heat in the store, the tension, and everything. And I just, oh God, I love that bit. The one thing I thought I would do whilst reading this was cry. And that was the one thing I didn't do. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a lack of connection or anything. I think it's because of what she does so brilliantly is, like, when she talks about her sexual abuse and everything, you're very much her saying, I said this, they said that, kind of back and forth conversation. And then suddenly she'll just wham a paragraph in there to explain, just so you're aware, from as children who are abused, they feel X, Y, Z. And she's looking at the situation then from her adult perspective, and various her knowledge of the subject and everything, not just as a victim. Obviously she's done a lot of research, and she, helping people who've been in similar situations. You're suddenly in there with her, remembering as a child what was going on and how she felt, and then suddenly you're pulled back for a section where she's trying to make you understand from an adult perspective what this feels like, what this means, how in this case those who are abused feel that society feels about them. It's very interesting, and then suddenly she'll push you straight back in again. So because he didn't have that thing of wholly being immersed in that one state of mind and the confusion and everything, it didn't necessarily make me cry, but it really made me, the way that she wrote about it and the going forward and backwards really made me think a lot about things, and I really respect her for doing that. You feel her warmth, you feel her character, her soul in this writing, and I think it's exquisite. I really do. And for her to pour all of her heart and soul into a book just covering those first 20 odd years of her life, and have it be so full of light and dark, and to be so uplifting at the same time, and to be so short yet cram in so much information. She was an extraordinary woman, extraordinary writer. I'm so glad I've read this. I want to read a bit for you to show you what I mean about the light and the dark. So this is talking about Bailey. Bailey's been getting into some trouble of late. He's being a bit rebellious, and this is after he's had a bit of a beating, as it were, by Uncle Willie, and this is a little bit later, a conversation that he has with Maya. Then one evening at the pig pen, he said without warning, I saw Mother Dear. Mother Dear is their mother, their biological mother, who lives away. If he said it, it was bound to be the truth. He wouldn't lie to me. I don't think I asked him where and when. In the movies, he laid his head on the wooden railing. It wasn't really her. It was a woman named Kay Francis. She's a white movie star who looks just like Mother Dear. There was no difficulty believing that a white movie star looked like our mother and that Bailey had seen her. He told me that the movies were changed each week, but when another picture came to stamps starring Kay Francis, he would tell me and we'd go together. He even promised to sit with me. He had stayed late on the previous Saturdays to see the film over again. I understood, and understood too why he couldn't tell Mama or Uncle Willie. She was our mother and belonged to us. She was never mentioned to anyone because we simply didn't have enough of her to share. We had to wait nearly 2 months before Kay Francis returned to stamps. Bailey's mood had lightened considerably, and he had lived in a state of expectation. It made him more nervous than he was usually. When he told me that the movie would be shown, we went into our we went into our best behaviour and were the exemplary children that grandmother deserved and wished to think us. It was a gay-like comedy, and Kay Francis was long-sleeved white silk shirts with big cufflinks. Her bedroom was all satin and flowers in vases, and her maid, who was black, went around saying "lousy missy" all the time. There was a Negro chauffeur, too, who rolled his eyes and scratched his head, and I wondered how on earth could an idiot like that be trusted with beautiful cars. The white folks downstairs laughed every few minutes, throwing their discarded Snickers up at the Negroes in the buzzards' roost. The sounds would jag around in our air for an indecisive second before the balcony's occupants accepted it and sent their own guffaws to riot with it against the walls of the theatre. I laughed too, but not at the hateful jokes made on my people. I laughed because, except that she was white, the big movie star looked just like my mother. Except that she lived in a big mansion with 1,000 servants, she lived just like my mother. And it was funny to think that the white folks, not knowing that the woman that they were adoring could be my mother's twin, except that she was white and my mother was prettier, much prettier. The movie star made me happy. It was extraordinary good fortune to be able to save up one's money and go see one's mother whenever one wanted to. I bounced out the theatre as if I'd been given an unexpected present, but Bailey was cast down again. I had to beg him not to stay for the next show. On the way home, he stopped at the railway track and waited for the night freight train. Just before it reached the crossing, he tore out and ran across the tracks. I was left on the other side in hysteria. Maybe the giant wheels were grinding his bones into a bloody mush. Maybe he tried to catch a boxcar and got flung into a pond and drowned. Or even worse, maybe he caught the train and was forever gone. When the train passed, he pushed himself away from the pole where he had been leaning, berated me for making all that noise and said, "Let's go home." 1 year later, he did catch a freight, but because of youth and the inscrutable ways of fate, he didn't find California and his mother dear. He got stranded at Baton Rouge, Louisiana for 2 weeks. So as you can see, it's full of light, yet full of dark at the same time, and the issues that they have with their parents and such. But it's so interesting, and going later on in the book, how Maya's relationship with her dad, especially in later, kind of her early 20s, is so interesting to read. She was an absolutely extraordinary woman. Would I read this again? Yes, I certainly would. Would I read the next one? Hell yes, I would. I'd really like to get the other books of Maya Angelou and continue reading this. I adore the title, especially. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and she explains what that means in the book, and it's so extraordinary. Just like her, she was brilliant. She was an amazing woman. I'd strongly recommend this to you guys. It's a wonderful read. There's so much stuff going on. It's not very long at all, so pretty easy to get through. And enjoy the laughter, the tears if you have tears, depending. Just because I didn't cry doesn't mean that you won't cry. But the light, the dark, the joy, the happiness, the despair, everything. It's got everything that you want in a book, and I just absolutely adored it. So that was my thoughts on I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. You can leave me in a comment in the comments box below, or you can give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, entirely up to you, I'll let you decide. And I'll be back soon with a review of my other book, announcing that I've read, the next book I'm going to read, and show you all of the books I got on my holiday. I bought loads. So yeah, I'll be back soon then. Bye.